Yo, what's up guys? I pray that you're all doing well. My name is JoKa and today's video is a very special video. It's actually a goal of mine, something I always set out to do, and it was to drop the Heihachi guide. And guys, we're finally here today with the Heihachi guide. I really hope you guys enjoy this video. I do want to start off by apologizing for taking so long to release this video. You know, I initially wanted to do this sometime last year, but of course I was busy with competing and whatnot. And something about me as well is when I do something, or when I say I'm going to do something, I like to put my best effort into it. You know, I'm kind of like a perfectionist, and I also have OCD because, yeah, that's just the way I am. But yeah, guys, I really hope you enjoy this video. It's going to be a long ass video, guys. I will timestamp everything and break everything up in sections and whatnot. Yeah, I really hope you guys enjoy this video. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe. Please let me know if you guys do have any questions about Heihachi in general. I will try my best to answer them in the comment section down below. And of course, if you want to see more guides, I actually really want to start doing more guides. You know, I did mention after the Heihachi guide, I want to do like a timing guide, heat usage guide. So if there's anything else you guys would like to see, please let me know. I'm down to do more or less anything. I mean, not anything, but you guys get what I mean, right? But yeah, I guess let's get straight into it. Now, Heihachi Mishima, one of the more well-rounded Mishimas in my opinion. I feel like he doesn't have too many weaknesses as of right now, if we're talking Tekken 8 Season 3. I do think he's well-rounded, very strong, but again, he's a bit difficult to play. I feel like his game plan has always been like taking big risks, and I still feel like that is kind of the same. But I feel like when you land those big Tekken moves, or those moves that require a lot of risk, the reward is also pretty big as well. So yeah, I really still to this day enjoy playing Heihachi. I feel like Tekken 8 Heihachi and Tekken 7 Heihachi are two completely different Heihachi, so you got to play them in a different way. And I'm sure a lot of you guys have seen all the different Heihachis in tournaments, in ranked and whatnot. So yeah, I think he's a character which you can play in different ways and styles. That's something I really enjoy about playing Heihachi in Tekken 8. Different ways to play him, different game plans and whatnot, and of course I will be getting into all of that. But the first thing I want to go over is probably the most important thing, and it's something I tell all my students that I coach and my stream chat in general, is when you're playing Mishimas, the most important thing is understanding neutral key moves to use, timing, spacing, and so on. So the first thing we're going to talk about is neutral. Now, neutral, aka the key moves to use in a neutral situation. So the first thing I want to talk about is his jab. I feel like Heihachi's jabs are some of the best in the game, especially when it comes to the Mishimas and the entire roster actually. I think his jabs are really good. Of course, single jab, +1 on block, +8 on hit as usual. The range is crazy, has a few variations as well, as you guys may know. Let me put this on block. Of course, single jab, +1 on block like I mentioned. And yeah, I think jab on its own, really important to use with any character. Maybe I'll make a video on that later as to why it's so important. But yeah, his single jab is great. The other variations I want to talk about is 1-1, of course. Now 1-1, -5, +6 on hit, and you can of course hit confirm into 1-1-2. And as you guys may know, this does of course wall splat. It's something Heihachi's always had, a wall splatting 1-1-2, which is really good, you know, especially when he has great range on the jabs as well. It really does help. Something you can use in neutral, in combos, and so on. But yeah, the only difference I think with Tekken 8 and Tekken 7 Heihachi, which is like a big difference, is 1-1 is now -5 in Tekken 8. So you got to be careful about moving after 1-1, you know, stepping and so on, you know. So yeah, it still does kind of have that mind game behind it on whether you're going to finish it, whether you're going to press after it, and so on. But I still think, again, great jabs, some of the best in the game, and it's something I still abuse with Heihachi. I still like to use a lot of 1-1 and so on. The next string I want to talk about is 1 back 2. Now this string, super important. -2 does have, of course, follow-ups. 1 back 2 4, which is +5. Again, another great string. Something I like to use at the wall. It does wall splat as well. It deals chip damage and so on. 1 back 2 on its own is +8, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, +8. And this has another extension to it as well, which is 1 back 2 2, which is basically a G clef. So on counter, you do get a ton of damage. You get plus frames as well. Again, I think great tools to use in neutral. Something I like to use a lot as well. And guys, of course, he also does have a 1 back 2 down, which allows him to enter stance. I will be talking about stances a bit later because I've made a whole different section for that. And that's going to be quite a long section because I think stances are really important when it comes to Heihachi in Tekken 8. But yeah, 1 back 2 down is also -2. Again, you can stance cancel, you can also commit to an option in stance and so on. So it's good to kind of have options from 1 back 2. You know, you can either do 1 back 2 on its own, you only -2, you can go into stance, you can do 1 back 2 4. And of course, I only really use 1 back 2 2 to counter it, confirm the full string, you know. But again, really important strings to use in neutral, guys. I can't stress enough how important it is to use jabs. Jabs when it comes to Heihachi, really important. Some of my favorite things to use as well. I'm not sure if you guys have watched me play Heihachi, but I like to use a lot of jabs, you know. I think it's really good. And yeah, it's a very core part of Tekken. Now let's talk about the next thing. He's down forward 1. Now guys, again, his down forward 1 is completely different to Tekken 7. His down forward 1 in Tekken 7, you could literally just poke down forward 1, down forward 1, down forward 1, down forward 1, and so on. But in this game, it's a lot different. Now down forward 1 on its own is -5. But again, it does have a ton of extensions. Down forward 1 on hit is +7, so you could do electric after this, you can jab after this if people try to step, and so on. But I'm not gonna lie, I should probably say this before I start talking about the other strings of down forward 1 or the other extensions. I didn't really like his down forward 1 too much because I was so used to Tekken 7 down forward 1, but it kind of it grew on me. And also, I think the mind game behind it is really good, guys. Like the hesitation frames behind down forward 1 on its own, it being -5 and having a ton of extensions, I think is really good. And I think the more you experiment with it, the more you use it in different ways, you're gonna understand what I mean. So again, down forward 1 on its own, +7 on hit, +5 on block. And of course, let's talk about down forward 1-1, which is arguably one of his best strings. Crazy tracking, -2. I'd say it's pseudo homing. Of course, it's a mid-high. On hit, I'm sure it's +6. Sorry, not +6, sorry, +4. Yeah, +4. Again, a great move to use in neutral. One of my favorite moves to use as well. I think if you're trying to track your opponent, it's the move to use in my opinion. And then you have the charges and the non-charges. But first, I want to talk about down forward 1-2 and non-charge. Guys, believe me when I say this, and I've also done a video on his down forward 1 mind game. I think his down forward 1-2 is really good. +3 on hit, non-charge, also tracks your opponent if they're trying to step. On block, it is -13, it is pretty bad on block. But depending on the skill level you play at, a lot of people do try and step the charged versions, or I should say the sparks, and then the charged version. Now, what is the sparks version? The sparks version knocks down, and this is safe. You can also get gold sparks as well. I don't know if I'd be able to do it because I'm a bit old and retired. There we go. We got the gold sparks. Damn, that didn't take me too long. I'm not gonna lie. But yeah, down forward 1, 2 sparks, also really good, of course. -9, safe on block, but it can be sidestepped and interrupted by some characters. Again, a really good move to use in neutral. Again, you can either do down forward 1 on its own, see how people react. Do they step? Do they press? Do they backdash? And then you can kind of work from that information and do like down forward 1, 2 no charge, down forward 1, 2 sparks. And then he also has, of course, down forward 1, 2 a full charge. Now this is +1, and this does also wall splat as well, so it's a pretty good move to use in neutral in my opinion. Again, you want to mix up these variations. You don't always want to autopilot and use the same variation. You want to adapt to what your opponent's doing and then using the option that's going to counter them. This does also wall splat as well, which is really good in my opinion, you know, sometimes good to use at the wall. Also deals chip damage as well, which is really important in a game like Tekken 8. So yeah, this is something I like to use when it comes to Heihachi in neutral. Again, I don't just use jabs, I use a lot of down forward 1, guys, you know. I first try and use down forward 1, 2 sparks to see how they react. Do they step and so on? Do they interrupt? And then if they're starting to step, of course, down forward 1, 2. Or I could just play the safe option and sometimes go for down forward 1, 1, or even down forward 1 on its own, because when you use down forward on its own, right, it is only -5 on block, which is pretty bad. I shouldn't be saying only -5, but it has hesitation frames behind it. What do I mean by that? What I mean by that is people are probably waiting for the follow-ups. People won't press anything, so they're going to respect you. So you can carry on and take your turn with stuff like 1 back 2, maybe jabs and so on, you know. So yeah, I think down forward 1, really, really important, guys. Jabs and down forward 1 strings, please start using them. And of course the jab strings as well. Some of the most important tools with Heihachi in my opinion. I think top 5 important moves to use with Heihachi, and it's why I want to speak about them first and foremost. The next thing I want to talk about is forward 3. Now forward 3, guys, I can't stress how important this move is. Forward 3 on its own, -5, can go into stance, which makes it -2. The pushback on this alone is crazy, so you can still kind of take your turn with jabs, with down forward 1, 2, and so on. I think forward 3 is also top 5 important moves. You see me use this in neutral a lot. You see cooldowns also use this a lot. This does track to his weak side, guys, so it tracks to his right, which is insane in my opinion, you know. He can go into stance, and of course he can stance cancel. On hit, guys, on normal hit, he does get stance 1-1 guaranteed. Now this is crazy in my opinion, because this guaranteeing a heat engager, and of course being able to go into stance, and also having the option to choose on whether or not you want to go into fusion stance, which is the stance he goes into, is crazy in my opinion, you know. It's really, really crazy. So you can opt to go for, like I just showed, the heat engager, or you can go for fusion 1-2, which wall splats and doesn't put you into heat. So really, really important, guys. Forward 3, a move you should definitely use in neutral. You can sometimes go into stance if you want to, sometimes don't go into stance, and it's pretty easy to hit confirm in my opinion, you know. You do have some time as well, so yeah, a really good move to use. Definitely use this more in neutral. Yeah, insane. Forward 3 is insane. Of course in Tekken 7 you used to count it and give you a full launcher, but I still think very good, you know. Very, very good move to use in neutral. Tracks to his weak side. It is pretty fast as well in my opinion. Only 18 frames. But yeah, the next move I want to talk about, since we spoke about forward 3, is back 4. Now back 4, another move that's I-18, one of his best counter hit launchers by far. Deals a ton of damage. Insane button, guys. I can't get over how important it is to use this in neutral to gather your opponent's timing and just catch them trying to step. This can be stepped to the right, but again, the damage is one of the reasons why people try not to press too much against Heihachi, you know, because once they get countered by like Heihachi's back four, you already know it's going to be a ton of damage, you know. So yeah, back four, a great move to use in neutral as well. One of his best counter hit launches. Again, I like to mix this up with forward 3 and like back 4. Really good. But yeah, definitely utilize back 4 on keep out, in neutral in general, when you have a read on opponent's timing, and so on. One of my favorite moves to use as well. It's so satisfying to hit as well. Just that counter animation is just so good, and that sound and everything. But yeah, definitely one of my favorite moves to use as well. Next thing I want to talk about is electric. Of course, electric, one of the best moves in the entire game, and one of the best moves in the entire franchise, you know. +5 on block, high launcher, which gives you a combo. You can also do, of course, a wind god fist as well to whiff punish people from like far range, which is something I like to do. I like to delay my crouch dash, and if my opponent's whiffed a big move, I do like to punish with a delayed wind god fist, which is really important as well to use. But yeah, let's kind of talk about electric again. +5 can be done with a perfect electric input, which makes the electric come out in 13 frames. That's something that can only be done in Tekken 8, which is really good in my opinion. Can be used for punishment, but it is very difficult to get 13 frame electrics. But again, very good to have 13 frame electrics, 14 frame electrics, 15 frame electrics. Of course, you use this in neutral to keep out, to block punish, and so on. Again, one of the best moves in the game, but I feel like you don't want to use this too much because it does make you more predictable. You do want to learn about timing your electrics better, you know, wave dashing and then doing electrics, so it's harder for your opponents to step, using them in different ranges and spacing situations. Again, really important. Of course, I don't really use electrics too much because I try and use them on defense more, and when I have a read on an opponent's timing, or when I have a read on when the opponent wants to jab and whatnot. The reason being is because, again, it's like I mentioned, I don't like to be predictable when using my electrics, and I've been punished for it so many times when playing in tournaments and whatnot. But of course, this shouldn't stop you from abusing electrics. Just learn to use them in different situations, in different timings, so you're not predictable, you know. That's the most important thing. You don't want to be predictable in a game like Tekken 8. But yeah, one of my favorite moves to use as well. Super cool. Sounds cool, looks cool, is a cool move in general. But yeah, let's move on to the next thing now. Hell sweep, DD4. Again, another really good move, guys. +8 single hell sweep is +8 on hit. I like to use this a lot in neutral to poke and get those plus frames. Of course, it does have a ton of follow-ups as well, like in previous games. Double hell sweep, of course, does launch and is only -10. The second is only -10 on block. Again, a really good move to use in neutral, and a really good move to use to knowledge check your opponents. And of course, he has hell sweep 4, which is -3, and it's +8 on hit, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, +8 on hit. Again, you can mix up double hell sweep and hell sweep neutral 4. Really good moves to use, honestly. And again, you really gotta learn to time your hell sweeps, because it is a big risk using a hell sweep in general, because of course they do stagger on block, so you will get launched for it. He does also have hell sweep 3, which is new in this game. A move that is pretty risky as well, because you can duck the second hit, but I like to use it sometimes because if you're neutral guarding the second hit, you will get hit and launched, of course, which gives a ton of damage as well. That's something about Heihachi. When he gets you in a combo, he hits really hard. But yeah, I like to cycle through these different extensions and just see how like my opponent likes to adapt and what they like to do when they get hit by a certain extension, you know. So double hell sweep +8, hell sweep neutral 4 +8 as well, then double hell sweep which launches. Great moves to use. Again, really important, guys. I can't stress how important it is to implement like hell sweep into your game plan. You have to take risks when you play a character like Heihachi, and hell sweep is one of his main lows, so you got to kind of get used to taking that risk if you want to succeed with a character like Heihachi, because he does have a plethora of mids, which I will get into soon. But it is important to also start using these lows and using them in the right way possible. Like, you gotta always be conscious about risk reward, depending on the character you're playing against, depending on the playstyle, and so on. The next move I do want to talk about is, actually before I move on to the next move, he also does have Health Sweep 1, which also is good. It's like an uppercut, which does of course wall splat. But yeah, this is good to catch your opponents if they're ducking for the health sweep, the double health sweep, and you can get a wall splat into a ton of damage, of course. But I don't really use Health Sweep 1 too much. It's why I didn't want to talk about it, but again, it's good to know that you have an option like that, you know. He also does have Health Sweep neutral 4-4, which is really, really good. Of course, does also go into Fusion stance as well, which is really, really good, and is +6 when he goes into stance and in neutral, and it's 0 on block in the neutral without stance, you know. Really, really good. Again, you gotta really learn to cycle through the different variations and use them accordingly and appropriately in a situation. But yeah, really, really strong. I'm gonna keep saying top 5 moves of Heihachi's, but I feel like there's gonna be so many moves I'm gonna talk about which are really good with Heihachi, so I'm gonna say top 10, you know. In no order, they're all just so good. Heihachi's neutral in general is really, really strong in my opinion. But yeah, next move I do want to talk about is forward 1+2 is one of his heat engages. Again, really, really strong. Safe on block, tracks pretty well. It is a forward move, so you can realign with wave dash. I like to use this from Wavy to mix up my options, of course, like health sweep, Wavy, health sweep, Wavy, sometimes back 4, Wavy, sometimes forward 1+2. But I will get into my game plans and how I play Heihachi and what goes behind the thought process when using certain moves later on in the game plan and style section. In heat as well, it gives a guaranteed follow-up. You do get Omen or forward 2 or QCF2 or down 3, but I like to go for the Omen, of course. Really, really good move. Really, really important to use as well. I feel like you're gonna hear me say really, really good and really, really important so many times. Again, the problem with Heihachi is he has a ton of good moves. You just gotta remember when to use them, you know. I think that's super important. You gotta utilize a ton of these moves in different ways and in different situations. That's what makes him so hard in my opinion. But yeah, forward 1+2, definitely implement that into your moveset. Tracks pretty well, is a forward input, so again you can delay timing, you can wave dash, realign to catch your opponent stepping. Super good, super important to use. Next move I want to talk about is down forward 4-2, guys. Down forward 4-2. Down forward 4 on its own is -6, but has a follow-up that's -12. On hit, I think down forward 4 is, I'm not sure what down forward 4 is on hit actually. +5, and you can twitch hit confirm the follow-up. Again, guys, really, really important. You see me use this a lot. It does a wall splat as well into a ton of damage. On counter, guys, believe it or not, this does counter launch, so you can get a ton of damage as well with down forward 4-2. I like to use this move in neutral. Of course, it does have the hesitation frames behind it on whether you're gonna finish it or not, so it's gonna make your opponent respect you because they don't want to get counter hit launched by Heihachi and then, you know, getting wall carried to the wall into heat into a ton of damage. But yeah, a really good move to use in neutral. One of my favorite moves. I feel like a lot of people don't use this move. I don't understand why. Has good range as well. Hits from like range 2 almost. Pretty good move to use, and of course you can twitch it, confirm the follow-up for a wall splat and so on. So definitely start using this move. Next move I want to talk about is Hunting Hawk, guys. Hunting Hawk. Now, I wasn't too big on this move even in Tekken 7 and in this game, but I've seen people like Kudons use it more, and it is one of my favorite moves to use now. It deals a ton of chip damage on block, is +4 as well, has pretty good range, tracks well. It is pretty slow, that's the only thing. But of course, having +4 with Heihachi really important, and of course chip damage in a game like Tekken 8 is super important. So on block you can do stuff like jabs, down forward 1, electric, and so on, you know. And on hit it does give, on normal hit, it does give a launcher, so you can get a ton of damage from this as well. Again, really important to use as many moves as possible with a character like Heihachi. Yeah. Again, something I do need to implement more, something I need to abuse in my opinion, because I don't use this too much, but a really good move to use in the neutral. The next move I'll talk about is back 2. Now back 2 has a ton of variations as well in this game. Back 2 on its own +2. It does have the Sparks version as well, which is +6. And he also has the non-charge version, which is +5. But when you go into stance, it's +8. Of course, does deal chip damage as well, which is of course really important in a game like Tekken 8. Back 2 on its own, on hit, is +7. I think it's a really big buff that it's +2 on block, the non-charge version. So at the wall, I like to jab to see if my opponent's going to step or disrespect, because a lot of people don't know it's +2. So again, a really good move to use, but you just got to be careful because it's pretty linear, so I like to use it at the wall mainly. Back 2 Sparks knocks down. It also does of course wall splat as well. Really important move to use in neutral in my opinion. Of course you got to mix up the variations so you don't become too predictable. Back 2 on normal hit without stance, the charged version I'd say, does give it a guaranteed follow-up. You can just get, I think, forward 4-2 the situation, or Omen if you're quick enough. It is pretty, I mean, I'm pretty bad at using it because whenever I use back 2, it's always the non-charged version or the Sparks version. I never use the full charged version. I don't know why. Maybe I should in Warrior's Instinct more, but I'll talk about Warrior's Instinct later. But yeah, it can go into stance as well, which makes it easier to get the follow-up. But yeah, really good move to use. Again, you gotta learn how to use the different variations of back 2, down forward 1, jabs, and so on. Now I want to talk about one of these homing moves, which is upward 4. Now upward 4, 24 frame homing mid, can be floated, -9, which is safe on block. Gives a guaranteed follow-up. I think this move is really good, and it's a move I like to use in neutral as well to catch my opponent stepping. One of my favorite moves to use, because in heat he does get an extension in heat, which I will be talking about later on. And let's talk about back 3-2 as well. Now back 3-2 also really good. 14 frame high string, which is natural, +15, and it knocks the opponent down and they quickly get back up. Really good move to use in neutral. Of course, I shouldn't say of course because you might not know this, but he does have a mid follow-up, so if your opponent does try and step or duck, you can get back 3-3, which knocks down, and you do get decent Oki from this as well. But back 3-3 is -12. Yeah, -12. So I think it's worth taking the risk sometimes in using back 3-3, because a lot of people do try and duck back 3-2 now, because I feel like Kudan has been using it so much and people have started to get used to it and they've seen it a lot more. So you want to mix up back 3-2 and back 3-3. Back 3-2 on block is -1, so you can still take your turn and disrespect, you know. It's just -1, you know, it's not too bad. But yeah, there is some pushback on block as well. Back 3-2 also does, guys, where's the drum roll? The counter it launches, so you can sometimes whiff this, and if your opponent's trying to duck punish or just whiff punish early, they'll get countered by the 2 and you do get a free counter launcher. I do really like using Heihachi's homing moves outside of course electric, which is one of his best moves, which tracks really well, hard to whiff punish. Of course down forward 1-2 I do think tracks really well along with down forward 1-1, his jabs as well. But I think you should also try and implement upward 4, back 3-2, back 3-3, and so on. Now let's talk about some of the moves that aren't used as much in my opinion, which I think are pretty underrated. 3-2 is one of them. 3-2 is a mid, a naturally combo. Is minus 13, but if you go into stance, -2. It does go into fusion stance as well, so you get a ton of options, which I'll be talking about later on. Really important to use some of these strings to try and catch your opponent off guard and to make your opponent think as well. On hit, it's +9 in stance and -2 when you don't go into stance. But of course, if you do land 3-2, you should always want to go into stance in my opinion, you know. Really cool move. I sometimes use it in combos as well. But yeah, I think using this in neutral is something I also need to use more of. I only really see cooldowns using this, to be fair, but I'm going to start using this more, guys. I promise. Another move as well. +2-2. Also, -2 on normal hit, but when you go into stance, +9. Does also go into fusion stance. On block, I'm sure it's -13. It's good to use moves like this because a lot of people aren't aware of these strings, or they forget how minus they are or how plus they are when you use them in stance and so on. Like usually when I see that someone doesn't know how to play against Heihachi, or it seems like they're not familiar with the matchup, I do like to throw like 4-2-2 into a stance electric, for instance, or 3-2 into stance electric, because a lot of people jab trying to punish it, you know. And of course there's always the mind game of whether you go into stance or not. But yeah, really important moves to use as well in neutral. But let's move on to down back 3. This is a new low that he's got in Tekken 8. 16 frame low that's minus on hit. That deals decent damage, you know. I think having a low like this is really important for Heihachi. That's not too risky and you don't need to commit to it too much. Of course, it is pretty bad on block like the rest of Heihachi's lows. It is -13 if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, -13, which can be launched by Kazuya and other characters, of course. But yeah, really good move to use in neutral. Again, -2 on hit, but I think it's still pretty good to use. It does kind of push back on hit as well, as you can see. So you can kind of like backdash and see if your opponent presses and then try to whiff punish them. One of my favorite moves to use, along with down 4. I think down 4 also really important to use when it comes to Heihachi's lows, besides the hell sweep, which I spoke about earlier. Down 4 is launch on block, is -4, but you're crouching, so you can, you know, do the usual while standing 2 and so on, or you can like down jab to disrespect your opponent. Again, I feel like down 4 is also really important to use in neutral. It is a quick low, you know, 12 frame startup. It's good to interrupt your opponent's momentum or stop their offense with it, and just to disrespect your opponent and just get in their head, because it's pretty annoying when someone just generic down 4s you a lot, you know. But yeah, down back 3, down 4, great lows in my opinion, even though they are pretty bad on block. Really good, really good. I mean, I prefer to use this over like down back 2 and so on, you know. But yeah, let's talk about down back 2 now. Now down back 2, of course, everyone knows it is still launch on block -18, so it is a big risk using this move. On normal hit is +6. Again, doesn't do anything on counter hit, but again, I think using this move is good in neutral sometimes to test your opponent's reactions. Some people can react to this. It is a 23 frame startup move, which is pretty slow, but again, I think I only really use this when I'm trying to send a message, or when I'm at the wall. I like to mix up down back 2 and back 2, which I'll be speaking about a bit later on. But yeah, I think sometimes using down back 2 is good to test your opponent's reactions, like I mentioned. You know, using while standing 4 after this is good. You can even do stuff like, you know, dash electric and so on. But you are left crouching, of course. But again, it's good to try and use as many moves as possible with Heihachi, so you can get your opponent to think about more things. But yeah, I think I covered most of these lows. Let's talk about more mids. I want to talk about 4-4-3. Now 4-4-3 is -3 on block, Really good move, in my opinion. In Warrior's Instinct, it's buffed, which I will be talking about later on. But yeah, normal hit launcher. I think it's good to use because a lot of people do duck against Heihachi in neutral because of health sweep and so on. So you could do stuff like wavy forward 3, and of course it does give you a launcher, like I mentioned. Again, a ton of damage when you do get launched by Heihachi. It's not nice, you know. It does hurt a lot. But yeah, a move I use quite a lot. Even outside of Warrior Instinct, I try to use it to catch my opponent ducking. It is pretty linear, so you gotta kind of like realign and wave dash into it, or just like delay your timing to catch your opponent either stepping or ducking. But yeah, definitely try and implement this into your game plan also. Next bit I want to talk about is 1+2. -10 on block. It's also buffed in Warrior's Instinct. This does also wall splat. It knocks down as well. It doesn't give you a guaranteed follow-up like it does in Warrior's Instinct, but we'll talk about that later. It does wall splat also. It's a good move to try in neutral. You know, it's a good move to disrespect your opponent with. 12 frame startup, really good. Can be used as a punisher also. One of my favorite moves as well to use. I have so many favorite moves with Heihachi, guys, so I'm sorry if I sound like I'm repeating myself, but again, Heihachi is just, I feel like he's a super well-rounded character that has a plethora of good moves, whether it's mids, highs, lows. Really hard to kind of just implement them all into your game plan. Next move I want to talk about is down 1-2. Down 1-2, down 1 on its own. Again, a natural hit combo string. Down 1 is +2, down 1-2 is +9, and you can also go into stance with this, which is the Raijin stance. Really good move to use in my opinion, but you do have to be careful because it can be interrupted by Raija, if I'm not mistaken. It can also be stepped to the right also. But yeah, on block, down 1 is -9, and so is the follow-up. So it's pretty good to sometimes use this to see if your opponent is familiar with the matchup. Do they know that they can step it? Do they know that it goes into stance, and so on? You know, you can kind of overwhelm your opponent by using these type of strings in Warrior's Instinct or in Heat to kind of ride the momentum and dictate the pace, you know. Again, down 1-2. I don't really use this too often. I only really use down 1 as a round ender. But again, really good move to use. It is, of course, plus on hit, +2, which is pretty good. And people would probably be thinking about the follow-up as well, you know. Has decent range as well. A really good move to use, in my opinion. Doesn't track the best, but I feel like people are too scared to step against Heihachi when he has moves like 4-3, electric, health sweep, which tracks like crazy. And of course 4-3 also. And he's down forward 1 strings, which we already spoke about. But yeah, down 1-2, definitely try and utilize that, but again, you got to be careful when using those when using this string. Same goes for sidestep 2 as well. Sidestep 2 +9 on hit also goes into Raijin stance. I mainly use this in Warrior's Instinct. Sidestep 2 also is safe. Only -5 when you go into stance, and without stance it's -5 when you go into stance and only -9 when you don't go into stance. Again, I mainly use this in Warrior's Instinct, which I will be talking about later on. But yeah, really important string or move to use as well. So down 1-2 and sidestep 2, definitely use those more. Nice mids to kind of mix your opponent with. You can do like sidestep down back 3, sidestep 2, maybe sidestep back 2, sidestep down forward 1, sidestep health sweep, and so on, you know. It's all about trying to be unpredictable and using as many moves as possible to cause hesitation and make your opponent second guess themselves. It is Tekken 8, the game is centered around aggression. So you kind of want to be dictating the pace and being the aggressor with a character like Heihachi, you know. One move I should have spoken about earlier, which I do apologize, guys, is forward 4. Forward 4, +4, can go into stance as well, fusion stance. Again, one of my favorite moves. I abuse the shit out of this move. always, like, always either going into stance, either using it on its own. You can also commit to stance and use a stance option if you'd like. And when the opponent is ducking, guys, you are plus 15, which means you can get a guaranteed down forward 1-2. And if you're an experienced Heihachi player, you'll be able to react to your opponent getting hit by this. You'll go into stance and confirm the Fusion 2 which launches, which is guaranteed, by the way, guys. So forward 4 on crouching opponents does guarantee Fusion 2, which gives you a free launcher, again into a ton of damage. That's a super basic combo, but we'll get into combos later on as well. But yeah, again, one of my favorite moves to use in neutral, a move that I don't know, it's a move I'll always not be afraid of throwing out, even though it can be stepped, but I feel like the risk reward is worth it, you know. Plus 4 chip damage as well, like super important. One of my favorite moves, honestly, one of my favorite moves to use. But yeah, forward 4 definitely should be one of the main moves you use in neutral, alongside, of course, down forward 1, jabs, electric, hell sweep, forward 3, back 4, and a lot of the other moves I mentioned. Next move we're going to be talking about is back on plus 2. Now, back on plus 2 is his parry. It parries punches and kicks. Minus 11. It is a heat engager, by the way, guys. So a pretty good move to use as a defensive option, and if you have a read on your opponent's going to jab or press, like sometimes doing stuff like 1 back 2 or like down forward 1-1 into parry will work, or upward going to parry and so on. On heat dash, this does guarantee a follow-up, which is Ulman, forward 4-2, QCF2, down 3. I've started to try and implement this more into my game plan, but I don't really find too much use with it. It's because I try and rely on my defense more than anything, so I really try and utilize lateral movement and stuff like that. But again, it's something you shouldn't negate. You should definitely try and use back on plus 2 more. He also does have up back 2, which is a Sabaki, a punch parry Sabaki, which is minus 9. It's a high, and it's pretty, I think it's a pretty good move to use against certain characters like Steve, for instance, or against playstyles I like to jab a lot. But yeah, really good move, really good move. Try and utilize these as more of a defensive option in a situation, or as even as a knowledge check, you know, like I mentioned, you could do like down for 1 into back 1 plus 2 and so on. But yeah, be careful on using back 1 plus 2 because it is minus 11. But again, I do think throwing this out sometimes is important to make your opponent second guess, and that's something you want to do in a game like Tekken 8. I don't know how many times I've said that, but yeah, really important move to use in neutral. Upward 1 is one of Heihachi's power crushes outside of stance. Minus 13 has a ton of range, and also luckily for us Heihachi players, it does wall splat, so you can get a ton of damage from this. I've started to use this more as well because the risk reward is worth it in my opinion, and when a game is so focused on aggression, sometimes throwing out like power crushes to beat heat bursts and so on is important. And of course it is wall splat, so using this at the wall is really important, because obviously a lot of you guys may know, but a lot of people do like to press sometimes in situations in Tekken 8, or even against Heihachi when they feel like you're being too aggressive to try and disrespect with like a heat burst or a down jab or something like that. So his power crush, his upward 1 will beat it, but of course it is minus 13, so be careful. This can be punished pretty hard by characters, but a move that I do like to use in neutral. The next move I want to talk about is wall standing 4. Minus 3 on block, and of course if you finish wall standing 4-4, it is minus 15 like it's always been. But the difference in this game is wall standing 4 is still plus 8, but on wall standing 4 on hit is 0 on block, on hit sorry, You can also go into fusion stance where you have a ton of options to choose from. But yeah, this is a move I like to use quite often. You can kind of quick confirm this as well. Really good move to use in neutral. Again, I like to mix this up with health sweep, wavy back 4, wavy electric, wavy forward 1+2, and so on, you know. Also tracks pretty well if you realign and time your while standing 4. I think people don't utilize while standing 4 enough with Heihachi, which is why I want to talk about it. I feel like using this move in neutral as a poke is really good. Of course, while standing 4 on its own is +8, so you can do like electric after it, down forward 1, jabs. You can check them with forward 3, back 4, and so on, you know. Definitely a move I abuse, and I feel like there's no reason not to use it, you know. It's safe. A lot of people don't really press too much on while standing 4 on its own on block when you use it, because they're probably scared of the follow-up, or they're just gonna respect you in general, you know. But yeah, I really like using this move. Let's talk about while standing 2. Now, while standing 2, not as evasive as it once was in Tekken 7. Still safe on block, -8. Still evasive, but not as evasive. On normal hit, it's +8. And on counter hit, guys, on counter hit, this does used to launch in Tekken 7. But you do get +14 guaranteed. So at the wall, you can go for down forward 4-2. Of course, you can go for down forward 1-2. And so on, you know. A really good move to use when you're in crouch. You can set this up with down 4. One of my favorite moves as well, while standing 2. I feel like a lot of Heihachi players do like to abuse while standing 2. And I'm one of them, you know. When I get forced into crouch, I'm going to use while standing 2. I don't care. You're going to have to force me to respect you, you know. So sometimes using while standing 2 is really good. Rush Award is great on it as well. But yeah, safe on block. Really important to use this move. He does also have while standing 3, 1+2. This does wall splat. No longer launches, but it does wall splat. It's while standing 3 on its own is -11. But whenever I use this move, I usually finish it. And it's safe, -9. Again, a lot of people do try and punish this. So it's a good move to try and implement in knowledge checking your opponent, or just using it to mix up your opponent. He does also have another low, which I didn't speak about, which you can mix up while standing 3, 1+2, and while standing 2 with. It's full crouch down forward 4, which knocks you down on clean hit. Now, if it's not on clean hit, you just get +4. But of course, on clean hit, you get a knockdown into a guaranteed follower. You do have to be careful using this move, because it does unfortunately stagger on block, which is -23, which you will get punished really hard for. So it's why I like to mix it up with while standing 3, 1+2, while standing 2, while standing 4, and so on. Next move, and it's probably the last move I talk about, because I feel like I've spoken about every move which you should use with Heihachi in neutral, is Omen. Now, Omen, -11, did used to launch in Tekken 7, no longer launches in this game, but in neutral, it is sometimes good to throw this out. It's only -11. And it wall splat, so sometimes just throwing this out, you know, maybe doing a wave dash to like trick your opponent into thinking you're going to go for a health sweep, and then sometimes taking a risk like this is important and can win you rounds. It does hurt your opponent's mental when you use an Omen and you get a wall splat into a combo, for instance. So something I've been thinking about lately, but I've not really been implementing into my game plan. But I promise, everything I say that I'm going to do, guys, I will do it. So I'm going to start using Omen more in neutral, especially at the wall, along with all the other moves we spoke about: back 2, down back 2, back 4, forward 3, up forward 1, and so on. But I think that covers the neutral side of things when it comes to Heihachi. Let's move on to punishment. Now, punishment. It's time to talk about punishment. Now, Heihachi has really good punishment in this game. I think probably some of the best punishment amongst the mishimas. Let's talk about his standing punishment first. Of course, I-10. He does have 1-1-2. Great range on his jabs, like I mentioned earlier. Of course, 112 also does wall splat into a combo. One of the main punishes I use when it comes to these 10 frame knocks down, wall splats. You can carry on enforcing and being aggressive in neutral when you knock down your opponent. So one of my favorite punishes, 10 frame punishes, but he also does have 122. Now 122 is +4, but you can go into fusion stance. Now I mainly use this when I'm in heat, and I'll speak about why later on. But yeah, he does have 112 and 122 as his 10 frames. Let's move on to I11. He's I11, 2-2. A lot of people don't use this move, I'm not gonna lie. I think it's good. +3 leaves your opponent crouching. I feel like people or the devs forgot to even speak about this move. I think it's a really good move to use. +3 leaving your opponent in crouch. And I feel like a lot of people don't know how minus they are when they're in crouch, when they get hit by certain moves. So I think it's good to use this move as well, also as a knowledge check situation, or if you don't want to knock your opponent down, you just want to carry on with offense and you don't want to use 122. And if they're like -11, you can just use 2-2. +3, you're left standing, your opponent's left crouching. Really, really good move to use. Let's move on to I12. Now I12, he has 4-1 +2. 4-1 +2, you are +14. You can go for a heat engager, which also wall splats. You can go for back 1-4, which gives you pretty good Oki as well, which I will be speaking about later on. And you can also go for down forward 1-2. I mainly go for down forward 1-2 if I don't want to go into heat. But I've started experimenting with forward 1 +2 to back 1-4 more. Of course, you can also at the wall. My favorite down forward 4. I12 punish, doing that into down forward 4-2 for that juicy ass wall splat. One of my favorite. You can also do back 1-4 if you do want Oki into like down back 3 and stuff. Again, I'll speak about that later on. But yeah, headbutt into down forward 4-2 if you don't want to enter heat is one of the best things to do if you're trying to get that big damage and not enter heat. But yeah, I think one of the best I12 punches in the game. This does also launch in Warrior's Instinct, but we'll speak about that later on, guys. Don't worry. I am going to cover everything. I13 standing punish. Down forward 1-1 +4. Down forward 1-2, of course. Blue sparks. Can also do down forward 1-2 without the sparks, which is +3. But of course, I always go for the sparks, you know, for that knockdown and that damage in general, of course. He does also have down forward 4-2 as his 13 frame. Of course, if you're good enough, I'm not good enough, you can use his standing electric, which does come out I13, the perfect electric input, which is pretty hard to do. But if you practice enough, you can get it consistently. I've seen a ton of players do this. But me personally, I like to play it safe and go for the guaranteed damage with stuff like down forward 1-2, forward 1 +2, and so on. But yeah, forward 1 +2, great punish. Down forward 4-2, and of course down forward 1-2. Amazing punishes that you can use when your opponent's -13. I14, of course, he does have electric, like I mentioned. The quickest the electric comes out is 13 frames startup. So you can use electric to punish -14 as well. Something I only really do when I'm really feeling confident in my execution, which isn't too often, I'm not gonna lie. But a really, really good move to use. Yeah. Back 3-3. Homing. High mid. Again. Knocks down into Oki. Does 39 damage. Pretty good move to use in my opinion. You can of course also use back 3-2 if you want those juicy ass plus frames, which I like to do as well. He also has QCF2 as a 14 frame punish, which is really good. Long range. Probably hits from like range 2.5. Probably even further out, you know, 2.6. Yeah. Maybe 2.7? Let's see 2.7, guys. Let's do it. 2.7. Crazy move. Yeah, you can also heat dash from QCF2, which gives a guaranteed follow-up like I spoke about earlier. But yeah, I like using QCF2 to punish moves with like pushback, you know, moves like holds Death Fist, for instance, and so on. He does also have back 1-4, which again is a really good punish in my opinion. It has Oki, so you can do stuff like down 1, which I'll speak about later on. Okay guys, later on. I keep saying this, but it's gonna be a long ass video. Again, I will split up everything and timestamp everything for you guys. So that's everything from his I10, I11, I12, I13, I14. Let's talk about his I15 quickly. His I15, of course, electric. The fastest frames it comes out in is I13, sorry, but you can use this as an I15 punish as well, which is pretty important. Heihachi, you want to be launching your opponents when they're doing stuff that's launch. And he also has downfall 3 if you're not too confident in your punishment. Downfall 3, 1+2 QCF1, which deals a ton of damage, you know. Doesn't wall splat, but really good, you know. I like to use this move sometimes as a rage up punish if I'm not too confident on my execution, or I know it's going to kill, so I just go for this. Yeah, really good move, really good punish. It's also his wall combo as well. But yeah, let's talk about his standing punishment now. His crouching punishment, sorry. So when he's crouching, I11, he does have wall standing 4. It's of course +8. And on block, like we spoke about earlier, -3. And wall standing 4/4, launch, but on hit is 0. But of course, in Tekken 8, you have the option to go into stance, which makes it a juicy +6. And you have the options from fusion stance. Wall standing 4/4, one of my favorite punishes. I don't try and go into stance too often because I don't like committing to a stance option too much. It really depends on the opponent and the character I'm playing against. But I usually like to do wall standing 4/4 on its own when I punish something that's -11. As a 13 frame crouch punish, he has wall standing 1. Really good punish which guarantees Omen. You can also do QCF2 if you're not confident in your punishment execution, sorry. You can also do 4/4/2, but I think the best thing to do is Omen or QCF2 for that juicy damage. The next thing I want to speak about is in Tekken 8, Heihachi does have a crouch launcher that's I15, so he has full crouch downfall 2. The input is a bit weird to get used to, but again, getting used to this is really important. You do want to launch lows that are -15, of course. You do get a ton of damage from this as well. Man, Heihachi's a cool ass character, man. I feel like a lot of his weaknesses have been covered in Tekken 8, so you don't have to worry too much about punishment and stuff. Because in Tekken 7, of course, you couldn't launch unless it was I18. But in Tekken 8, he does have a new full crouch launcher, which is I15. So guys, remember to always be comfortable in your punishment. Know your options when you're punishing things. Know which punisher to use in a certain situation. Like some moves do have more pushback. Sometimes you don't want to go into heat, so you want to just go for, let's just say, back forward 1+2 into back 1/4, or forward 1+2 into down forward 4/2. If you're at the wall and you don't want to go into heat, of course, forward 1+2 into down forward 4/2, and so on. It's really good to know your options and to mix up your punishers, in my opinion, to really get the most out of a situation. Like sometimes you don't want to enter heat too early. Sometimes it's important to just wait it out. But yeah, that covers his standing and his crouching punishment for the old man Heihachi. Now, the next thing we're going to be talking about is stances. Now, Heihachi has 2 stances in Tekken 8, and I feel like a lot of his offense is centered around those stances. He has a stance called Fusion Stance, and he has a stance called Rising Stance. Now, before I get into that, I'm going to teach you guys how to stance cancel, because I think it is really, really important to use with a character like Heihachi, you know. You want to cause hesitation when you use stances and when you stance cancel, because you don't always want to commit to such a big option from stance. Now, stance cancelling is basically a method which is used to mitigate any risk, so you don't need to force yourself to go into stance or commit to an option. Rather, you can create a mind game to make your opponent hesitate. And we spoke about hesitation a lot so far, you know. And it's really, really important to use this. And you can do this from moves out forward 4, stance cancel, forward 4, no stance, 1 back 2, stance cancel, and so on, you know. So how do you stance cancel, you might be wondering. I did do a video on this before, but I thought I'd go over this again for some of the new people that are watching. And of course, it is a Heihachi guide, so I should be covering it. So when you go into stance, all you got to input is either down forward or crouch dash, and then you quickly tap back or hold back to cancel out of the stance. Now, you can also use other options like up, but I really like to use back, in my opinion. Like, it's the safer option and it's the easier option for me. So forward 4, down forward, or crouch dash into back. Again, really, really important, guys, that you learn to utilize stance cancelling. You're going to thank me for this later, because when you use stance cancelling, your opponent's really going to feel overwhelmed trying to react to whether you go into stance or not, or whether you're going to continue your offense and so on. So stance cancelling, really, really important to know and learn. You can see my command history on the left as well. I will just do it a few more times just so you know. So you saw me do down forward back, 1 back 2. Sorry guys, I'm a bit old. 1 back 2, down forward back, you know. So this, regardless of the stance that you're going into, you can always stance cancel from it. Now this does beat mids and lows, but it doesn't beat highs. So your opponent can jab you if you do 1 back 2 into stance cancel, but you have the option from fusion stance, which is electric, that beats jabs, you know. So it's really important to kind of create that layer and that mind game of basically forcing your opponent to play into your mind games and your layers, basically. So yeah, I will demonstrate this now for you guys. 1 back 2 electric, 1 back 2 stance electric does beat the jab. So 1 back 2 stance cancel loses to the jab, which I will demonstrate for you guys now, as you can see. So you want to mix up your options and sometimes go for the juicy ass electric, which gives you a normal hit launcher. So yeah, stance cancelling, really, really important. And if you're wondering how to block a low, so let's just say your opponent likes to generic down forward to interrupt your stances. You can just do, without the stance cancel, you could do 1 back 2 into down, you know, and down forward, sorry. So you will be able to low parry, or you can just do 1 back 2 crouch dash to, again, low parry your opponent and punish them for it. So again, really important to learn to stance cancel to create those layers of mind games, and sometimes you want to commit to stance options. Now let's move on to the first stance we're going to be talking about, which is fusion stance, which is also called, I think, wind god stance, but everyone just calls it fusion stance, so I'm going to call it fusion stance. Now you can manually enter this with down 1+2. Now I'm going to go over the options first and then tell you which moves lead into this stance. So first option, fusion 2. It's a normal hit launcher, safe in Warrior's Instinct. Only -10, by the way, guys. It's -10 outside of Warrior's Instinct. Crazy. Get a ton of damage. One of my favorite moves to use, because people do like to duck against Heihachi sometimes, or they like to try and step duck to beat most of the options. So I like to delay and then do my fusion 2 to catch them. Next options, which we already spoke about, kind of, fusion 1-1. You can get this guaranteed off of 4-3, and of course fusion 1-2 as well. Fusion 1-2 is -13, gives a wall splat, knocks down, but again, gotta be careful on when you do use fusion 1-2, in my opinion. But again, really good move to use. -13, can get a wall splat, can knock down. And fusion 1-1 as well, by the way, guys, is kind of, I'd say, twitch hit confirmable also. So when you do get this first hit, you can kind of twitch hit confirm it. It is pretty hard, but the more you play Heihachi, it becomes easier, and also depending on the situation, whether it's counter or not. But yeah, really good strings to use from fusion stance, natural hit combos as well. Crazy, man. Heihachi's stance game is crazy, in my opinion. Let's move on to fusion 4. Does a ton of damage, if I'm not mistaken. Does 20 damage, but it's -4 on hit. but again, a good option to have from stance. Another low, which you didn't have before. On block, if I'm not mistaken, minus 14. So against certain characters, you can't use this. I do like to use this against some characters just to try and enforce my dominance. And just to show people I'm not scared to take risks, you know. But yeah, 20 damage, minus 14, and also minus on hits. So minus 14 on block, minus 4 on hits. A good move to sometimes use, but don't get too comfortable using this low. You do want to use the other lows or the other options. Let's move on to the next one. This stance option, I feel like a lot of people do not use. Fusion 1+2, guys, an 18 frame homing mid power crush. This does, of course, wall splat as well. Thankfully, thank Heihachi, because everything just wall splat. Really, really good move to use. Again, the only problem is, I think it's not too bad actually. It's not even a problem. It's minus 13 on block. Again, I don't think that's that bad, you know, considering there are some power crushes that are probably worse. But again, this is homing mid, wall splats, knocks down. Really, really good move to use from stance to catch people sidestep ducking or sidewalking or pressing in general. Next thing I do want to talk about is Fusion 3+4. Now, this is an unbreakable throw. That's, of course, generic throws are homing. It's +7. Really, really good for Heihachi. +7. In heat, you have the option to go into Raijin stance. I'll speak about that a bit later on, guys. But again, I do like to use this as well, especially at the wall, especially when I'm close to the opponent or I'm just trying to enforce dominance and dictate the pace of the game. I like to use the unbreakable throw. Of course, you can mix this up with Fusion 2, Fusion 1+2, and so on, you know, because people will duck for this, believe it or not. A lot of people duck when they see you go into stance, Fusion stance specifically. The last option I want to talk about is Fusion 3-4. Also good to use sometimes is the normal hunting hawk. So it is a juicy +4 on block and does deal chip damage. Really, really good. Has great range, tracks well. Again, good to continue your pressure as well, your offense. So you can do stuff like, you know, 1 back 2 into Fusion 3-4 to get your opponent close to the wall where you can pressure them even more. Again, one of my favorite moves to use and one of my favorite stance options. Now, the moves which put you into Fusion stance, you gotta press down to go into Fusion stance when using these certain moves. And the moves are 1 to 2 down, lets you go into Fusion stance. 1 back 2 down, Fusion stance, of course. 3-2 down, 4-2-2 down, 4-3 down. One of the most important options, guys. 4-3. Make sure you guys use this move, please, for my sake. Forward 4 also goes into Fusion stance. You gotta tap down. Wall standing 4-4 down, and CD 4-4 down. Also, it's important to, again, I do want to say you don't always have to go into stance, but I think it's important to kind of enforce the mind game early of going into stance, so your opponent is kind of hesitating and second guessing themselves, you know. I feel like stances are really important for a character like Heihachi to build that mental stack and make your opponent go crazy, you know. The next stance we're going to be talking about is Raijin, which is also called Thunder God stance, but everyone just calls it Raijin stance, so I'm going to call it Raijin stance. Now, this is not as accessible as the Fusion stance. To go into Raijin stance manually, it's 4-3+4. I will talk about which moves enter Raijin stance, but let's talk about the options first. So Raijin 1, uppercut, which wall splats only -11, but guys, it is safe in Warrior's Instinct. Raijin 2, a homing guard break, which guarantees +10, so you can do 1-1-2 at the wall, 1-2-2 down to continue your stance pressure. And on counter, like you guys did see, it does give you a combo. So it's pretty good. It's really fast as well. So I think I like to use this a lot when I'm going into Raijin stance. 17 frames quick, homing high, guard break. Why would you not use that, you know? I'm literally sold already. But yeah, Raijin 2, so good. Mixing that up with Raijin 1 is literally the mind game. Of course, he does have other options. He has Raijin 3 as well. He does get access to a new move in heat, so you can do that move in heat, which I will be speaking about next. Raijin 3, by the way, guys, is -7. It's safe. It is pretty slow though, but it knocks down. Has decent Oki as well. The next option is Raijin 1+3, which is one of his quickest options from stance, which gives you broken toy. He can only do this throw from stance now in this game. A really good move to use as well. Quick stance option. A high as well, unbreakable. Really good. And he also has the final option from Raijin stance is Hell Sweep. Now he can do Hell Sweep, of course, double Hell Sweep neutrals 4, Hell Sweep neutrals 4/4, going to stance. He can do everything from this, guys. And again, I will be speaking about this later. He has all the Hell Sweep options from Raijin stance. Again, really important to use and mix up your options when going into a certain stance. Don't want to be too predictable, you always want to be unpredictable. The moves that lead you in to Raijin stance, but instead of tapping down like you did for fusion, you want to tap forward. So down 1-2, forward, you're in Raijin stance. Side step 2 forward, Raijin stance. Back 2 charge forward, Raijin stance. Heat smash also, if you hold forward, puts you into Raijin stance as well. And like I mentioned with the throw, that puts you into the fusion stance throw. So of course, to enter fusion stance is down 1+2 throw, and it automatically puts you in Raijin stance. Now you don't have to go into this if you don't want to. You can just hold back and it stops you from entering Raijin stance. But yeah, again, his stance is really important to use. Probably one of the strongest stances in game, I'm not gonna lie. Especially when he's in heat and Warrior's Instinct. Has a plethora of options to use to serve multiple purposes. Again, I didn't like how they stance slopped Heihachi, but it is fun using stances though, especially with a character like Heihachi, you know? Like landing a Fusion 1 in, Raijin 1 in Warrior's Instinct. There's nothing like it, you know? It's safe, wall splats into a hell of a lot of damage, so why not use it, you know? But yeah, that is all from the stances segment. Let's move on to heat. Now let's talk about Heihachi in heat. I think Heihachi is really strong in heat. He has one of the best heat smashes in the game. His heat smash is a 15 frame heat smash, which tracks pretty well and has 2 variations. So the normal variation, if you don't press forward, gives you this option, which floor breaks or floor blasts as well, and it gives you decent Oki also. The next heat smash variation is heat smash forward, which wall breaks, balcony breaks, wall blasts, ass blasts, whatever you want to say. Really strong heat smash in my opinion. It being 15 frames, crazy heat smash, top 3 heat smashes in my opinion. And on top of that, he has a ton of good moves in heat, you know. He gains access to new moves in heat. Electrics and OTGFs can be performed without the perfect input, so you'll always get electrics in heat, and of course omens as well. Again, a cool thing to have access to if you're a mishima player, of course. But let's talk about his heat engages first and foremost. So QCF2 I-14 heat engager. Heat dashes into a guaranteed follow-up. Really, really good. Of course, forward forward 1+2. Really good. Also gives you a guaranteed follow-up as well. Really, really strong heat engagers in my opinion. He also does have, which I forgot to completely speak about by the way guys, upward 2-1. Upward 2. I'll quickly speak about this now. My apologies for not speaking about this earlier guys. Upward 2. A 19 frame mid. Second hit is -11. It is a heat engager that launches. It tracks super well guys. You have to start using this move. Also very easy to hit confirm. You have a ton of time. And what does it do in heat? It launches. Having a move that tracks really well. It's pretty quick. 19 frames isn't too bad. Easy to hit confirm. Only -11 even if you miss the hit confirm. Really, really strong move that you have to use, guys. I forgot to put this in the section before this, the neutral section, or the 2 sections before. I am really sorry about that. But upward 2-1, really, really strong. Covers a ton of range as well, by the way, guys. Hits from like almost range 3, but like range 2.8, 2.7. So good, so good. Super easy to hit confirm. You literally have centuries to hit confirm. You can go to the toilet, have a shower, have a bath, make a cup of tea, have some biscuits, maybe some digestives, chocolate digestives. Very nice. And then hit confirm. Really, really good. Again, one of these heat engagers as well, and launches in heat. Fusion 1-1, like we spoke about. Also, a heat engager and in heat. Does give a guaranteed follow-up, of course. Which I usually go for. Omen in that situation, for that guaranteed follow-up, for that juicy damage, and that Oki. And the final heat engager, which we spoke about earlier, is his parry, which is pretty good. And of course, you can also heat dash from this to get that guaranteed follow-up as well. So if you feel like you've missed a parry or you've mistimed a parry, you can always just heat dash from it and get your guaranteed follow-up if it lands, you know. Really good moves and heat engages that we spoke about so far, but let's talk about the new moves that he gets in heat. Now, the first move I want to talk about is upward 4-1. Now, this is -3. But, guys, what did they do at the wall? I wonder. Whoops. Wall splats. 37 damage as well. Of course, it still does keep its homing property. So, upward 4-1 is homing. Really, really important to use this move in heat. Maybe I should turn on the HUD just so you guys can see how much heat it takes and stuff. So you can use this like 2 or 3 times. Again, pretty good in my opinion. Definitely try and implement this when you're in heat. The next move I do want to talk about is back 3-3-2, which gives you 59 damage. This can be used in wall combos and spikes. Back 3-3-2, guys. It is only, I don't know why I'm smiling or laughing. Only 0 on block, and it does have some pushback. Again, deals a ton of chip damage. It's okay, you know, it's better than nothing. I think a really good move to use to track your opponent if they're trying to step, which people like to do against Heihachi a lot. Yeah. Back 3-3-2, one of my favorite moves to use when I'm in heat as well, because I can use it in spikes, I can use it in neutral. Sometimes I like to just do back 3-3 on its own, so people are just waiting for the follow-up, but they don't usually punish, you know. So yeah. Next move I want to talk about is down 3-2, which is similar to back 3-3-2. 0 on block. Also can be used in spikes and combos. 45 damage, juicy damage. You can use this from the stances that I mentioned earlier as well. So Raijin stance, you can use the heat move. Really, really good in my opinion, you know. Deals chip damage, and also a ton of damage. The next move I want to talk about is a down back 1+2. Now, I don't see people use this too often. This is a 0 on block power crush, which does wall splat. Again, I don't find much use for this, I'm not going to lie, unless you're trying to do like a setup or something. But yeah, I think on normal hit, it wall splats. Yeah. So that'll be a bit close to them. But again, pretty good to use sometimes. Does have quite a lot of pushback also. So it's not too bad, you know. It does look plus, so maybe your opponent will think you're plus, but you're actually 0. So not a bad move to use, but I'd rather spend and utilize my heat in more efficient and better ways by using some of the moves I spoke about earlier. And the last move I want to talk about, which I don't see anyone using this, and I feel like the only time I'd use this is if I'm trying to waste time. It does cover a lot of distance, but it's back neutral 3+4. It does waste all your heat. So even if you do something like landing a successful heat engager, it wastes your entire heat bar. So is there any point in using it unless you're trolling or having fun or trying to time out your opponent? I don't think so, in my opinion. I don't think you should use this. But yeah, that is most or all of Heihachi's heat covered. Again, I think some of the best heat in the game. Just try to utilize heat in such a way where you're not just wasting your heat with stuff like forward 1+2 into heat smash. It's only really good using that option, or that's using that specific situation when you have a read on your opponent trying to step or press. But in general, in heat, you want to of course chip down your opponent with stuff like forward 4, up forward 4-1, you know, back 3-3-2, and then using like, I don't know, a heat dash or a heat smash, you know. But yeah, that does cover Heihachi's heat. Now let's talk about, when you hear that sound, it means you have the 3 stacks which allows you to enter Heihachi's enhanced state called Warrior's Instinct. To activate Warrior's Instinct, you literally just press 1+4, which puts Heihachi in a really fun state. Now, Heihachi's Warrior's Instinct, again, you do have to earn 3 stacks, and the way in which you earn stacks is by landing successful heat engages or just using heat burst in general. Now, something I've got to mention, I should mention it now as well. I was going to mention this later anyways, but when you're playing Heihachi, you always want to use heat in every round, more or less. You want to get these 3 stacks so you can enter this beautiful state called Warrior's Instinct. Now, Warrior's Instinct is super important. It's the end goal with Heihachi. You want to be in this state. It's one of my favorite installs or enhanced states to use every time I'm playing Heihachi, whether it's in ranked or against friends, and I have that Warrior's Instinct and I'm in Warrior's Instinct. I'm just smiling because it's just so much fun. I don't think I've ever had this much fun playing Tekken when I'm in Warrior's Instinct. So let's speak about Warrior's Instinct. What's changed and what's different in Warrior's Instinct? 1-1-2 wall splats from quite far away. Also does more damage, like 31 damage. It'll probably wall splat from here, by the way, guys. Crazy, really strong. It's insane that 1-1-2 does this, you know. It could probably even wall splat from here, probably. Oh, it just hit the wall, but I showed you earlier where you can wall splat from. 1-1-2 again, more damage, wall splats, and it also deals chip damage on block. And when you're in Warrior's Instinct, I think all the moves delete your grey health, so you can't have any grey health. The opponent doesn't have any grey health when you're in Warrior's Instinct using these moves. He also has access to a buffed 1+2, which guarantees a follow-up. And the follow-up you just saw deals 48 damage. Now you saw the follow-up, which was 4-4-2, which looks a bit different. This does have an extended range and hitbox, And listen to what he says. He says, my homie. How nice of Heihachi. Everyone says Heihachi's the bad guy, but deep down, he's a really good guy. So, 1-1-2, more damage, wall slash from further away. 1+2 guaranteed follow-up, which deals 48 damage, and 4-4-2, extended range and hitbox. Let's talk about 1-2-2. Deletes grey health as well. This can be used in combos as a spike, so I'll just show you a basic combo. 1-2-2 into a follow-up, for instance. 1-2-2, I mentioned earlier, really important to use to counter hit confirm and use it as a G-clef against your opponent if they're pressing. But yeah, 39 damage, deletes grey health. Why not use it, you know? Also, it wall splats as well. Because why not? You know, we deserve it as Heihachi players. We work really hard. Next move, which is probably the most important move in Warrior's Instinct. Down 4-2-1, which is a 13-frame launcher that only launches in Warrior's Instinct. Outside of Warrior's Instinct, it just gives you a knockdown. But guys, this doesn't just launch in 13 frames. If you do headbutt and you're plus 14, what can you do after that? Down 4-2-1. So you technically can launch people when they're minus 12 in Warrior's Instinct, which is crazy, you know. You can get a ton of damage from this as well, and of course does delete grey health, as you guys can see from the health bar. Super cool, super deserved. I love Heihachi. Heihachi for the win. 4-4-3 is different. It still launches on normal hit, but on block deals chip damage, and it's +1, guys. It's +1 in Warrior's Instinct, which is really good, you know. Let's also move on to the next thing, which is also one of the main moves to use in Warrior's Instinct. Health Sweep. The first day of Health Sweep doesn't stagger, so you can continue mixing your opponent up with the extensions that Heihachi has, you know. This also deals chip damage on block. Really strong. So you can use Health Sweep neutral 4, Health Sweep, double Health Sweep 3. Like, it's crazy, you know. Your opponent will always be second guessing themselves, thinking, oh, shall I try and punish the Health Sweep if I block it? Or are they gonna, is the Heihachi player gonna finish and move on to the extensions? Again, crazy mind game, guys. I can't tell you how crazy this mind game is. But hey, it's Heihachi. He deserves it. He's old. He's retired like me. So yeah, really important to use the Health Sweep extensions in Warrior's Instinct, because the first hit is, guys, only -14, not even launch, and it does not stagger on block. So you want to mix this up with Health Sweep 4, of course, Health Sweep 3, maybe Health Sweep into buttons, because some people will just hesitate and just not do anything. They're just mind blown when you enter Warrior's Instinct. So really good to use. Running 1+2, I'll start to experiment with this move more. It's more plus in Warrior's Instinct, so you can enforce the actual stance options from Raijin stance. It is also, the mix-up is real, so you can do stuff like Raijin 1, Raijin 2 as well, which is the guard break. Of course, you can just opt for Health Sweep as well, which is a really good option, you know. But yeah, running 1+2, more plus deals chip. This also spikes as well, guys, so you can get some funny looking combos. This also low crushes, and you're in a floating state as well in certain frames of the move. So I'll just show you a basic combo. Like, as you can see, also deletes grey health as well into a guaranteed follow-up. Really cool. Now, the one move we're going to talk about is Raijin 1 in Warrior's Instinct. Guys, Raijin 1, which is this, is safe -8 with pushback. It reversal breaks and deals chip damage on block. So you cannot parry this. If you do try and parry this, it's going to break that parry. So you literally have to hold this. And of course, at the wall still, it still wall splats like crazy. That is what's different with Heihachi in Warrior's Instinct. Again, really, really important to go into Warrior's Instinct, get those stacks, land those successful heat engages, land those heat bursts and combos. Try not to use heat burst in neutral that much because Heihachi's heat burst is pretty linear. I will teach you on how to use heat burst in such a way where it's kind of hard to whiff your heat burst in a certain situation. But guys, Heihachi in Warrior's Instinct is a beast, and you need to utilize this Warrior's Instinct and play more disciplined. You don't want to play too predictable. When you play predictable, you're probably going to lose. I don't think Warrior's Instinct guarantees rounds like some people say. I don't think it does. I'm going to say it doesn't guarantee rounds like some people say it does. Really, really important to use this. But yeah, guys, that is the Warrior's Instinct side of things. Please utilize Warrior's Instinct. Again, I'm going to quickly go over different ways in which you can enter Warrior's Instinct as well. By the way, you can just do it manually. You can also do it from stance. So manually, as you can see, you can do it from stance as well. Sorry, I don't have a 1+4 bind. So you can do forward 4 into 1+4 to activate. But you do need to be careful when you use Warrior's Instinct because airborne moves can beat the activation. Another cool thing about Warrior's Instinct, by the way, is that when your opponent gets like hit by it on normal hit, it is going to wall splat. So if you catch your opponent like pressing into it and not blocking, or just like not neutral, or just neutral guarding in general, I think you can just get a juicy wall splat, which is so worth it in my opinion. Like, why wouldn't you make Warrior's Instinct activation wall splat? Like, it looks so cool. Like, why not, right? And then you get 1 back 2, 1+2, whatever. But yeah, guys, try not to be predictable when you activate Warrior's Instinct. Of course, earn those stacks. You have to be in Warrior's Instinct to play Tekken 8 Heihachi. Now I thought, you know what, let me make a whole different section. I was just going to do Oki, but I think I just labeled this section as tips and tricks. So there's a ton of things I'm going to go over. And the first thing is, you might have seen Kudons land some juicy tech.
Oh, it's good.
EMP, oh my god, 4-4-2.
Uh-oh, yeah, man, the activation here on this round, trying to get to the final round here. I truly love the fact that he'll do that too.
Oh my god! Did y'all just see that? I've never seen that before. He just revealed some secret tech
with upward 4 into a combo. Now this only works on tech roll left, so you have to do the back 3-2 combo. I'm gonna try and demonstrate again. So I like to sidestep left here. Heat burst, back 3-2, 1+2, and then upward 4, jab. And then you can get a combo. Now, this is pretty situational, and it's not something I've tried to use in-game yet, but I thought, you know what, let me just cover it, you know? So, I just demonstrated. I'll demonstrate one more time, so I think you could do any combo here. Sorry about my terrible combos. I like to sidestep left here, back 3-2, 1+2, and then upward 4. Into jab, you know. You can also, if they stay on the floor, you can delay your tech. You delay your upward 4, sorry, so you can catch the delayed tech and you can still get the combo. So another thing that people don't use much, which is the second tip I'm going to give you guys, is wall standing 1 at the wall. So wall standing 1 at the wall, you can get a 4-4-2 if it doesn't clean wall splat. So like from this range, I guess, you can get guaranteed 4-4-2, or if you're quick enough, you can get a back 1-4 to get a full combo, which is really important, you know. You got to try and optimize your damage in any situation when you're playing a character like Heihachi, because Heihachi does hit hard. And this also goes for Fusion 1-2. At the wall, you can also get 4-4-2 when it doesn't wall splat. So let me just get Heihachi positioned from there. So you get 4-4-2 here guaranteed. You can even do down back 3, you know, to kind of get Oki in a way. It is a bit hard depending on the range. Like, I don't want it to wall splat because it wall splats from far away, as you can see. But as you can see here, down back 3 is guaranteed and forward forward 2. So remember that. While standing 1 at the wall and Raijin 1-2, or sorry, Fusion 1-2, does give you guaranteed follow-up. So we went over Kudon's upward 4 tech, the while standing 1 tech, Fusion 1-2 tech. Let's talk about Broken Toy Oki. Now this at the wall from some angles guarantees you down back 3. Again, you can also mix this up, I guess, with like down back 2 or down or back 2, depending on which way your opponent likes to step or side roll, sorry, or how they like to get up. So even going for something like down 3, another safe option, you don't need to risk much, is also really good as well, you know. So that's just some of the tips and tricks I want to give you guys. Let's move on to back 2. I think this one's really important to know, because as you guys know, back 2 is, why is it, guys? Do you remember? It's +2 on block, and if your opponent likes to jab after back 2, do you know what you can get? Do you guys know? I don't think you guys know. So if your opponent likes to jab after back 2, you can do forward 1 +2, because a lot of people don't know that back 2 is +2. So they like to try and challenge, you know. So I'm going to show you something really cool. This is all guaranteed, by the way, guys. So on back 2 into forward 1 +2, and they try and jab. So you're +2 here, you're +22, so you get guaranteed forward 4 Fusion 2, which launches for a ton of damage. So it is good to sometimes use this and try and knowledge check your opponent. But again, it's just something cool that you should know, and something like a trick that you could use, of course. Yeah, really important. Next thing I want to show you guys or talk to you about is when to or how to activate Heat Burst, like in a safe way. I think back 3-2 into Heat Burst is a really good time to activate, of course, your heat. It's when I usually use my Heat Burst, because I'm scared when I use it manually that it's gonna whiff or it's gonna get stepped and so on. So I try to use it after like back 3-2, or you can also use it after Hell Sweep, which is a really good situation as well. +8, you know, your opponent usually respects you because they don't want to get frame trapped by like back 4, 4-3. So I like to just use Hell Sweep, and if I haven't entered heat yet, I just enter heat, you know. Another thing as well, Hell Sweep into Heat Smash cannot be stepped by any character, so you should always use this if you're trying to use your heat and enforce or continue to enforce pressure on your opponent. It's really important to use that strategy as well. So we spoke about a ton of things so far, right? We spoke about back 2, we spoke about Broken Toy Oki, we spoke about Kudon's upward 4, while standing 1, Raijin 1-2, back 3-2 into Heat Burst and Heat Smash. Next thing I want to talk about is Oki in general. Now, some Oki situations which are really good is off of moves like back 1-4. Now, back 1-4, from what I've tested, I think down 1 beats every option unless you stay still. You can also use forward 1 +2 into back 1, or back 1-4 in general into forward 1 +2. But I think forward 1 +2 does lose to spring kicks, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, I think you gotta input it at a certain time, or you kind of gotta delay it. But again, from back 1-4, I like to just go for down 1. I'll go for the safe option. I'll get my guaranteed hit on the floor if they press something, if they tech. But if they stay still, down 1 will lose. But forward 1 +2 does lose to spring kicks. And you can also use down 3 as well, which is also an option that you can use. It mainly catches players that stay grounded, but of course spring kicks will beat it. I feel like in this situation, a lot of people do stay grounded, so it's good to use down 3, you know. Another situation in which you can use some of Heihachi's Oki is Raijin 3. You can also do the same down 1 option. You can also use QCF 2 as well. in this option, which is also really good. If they try and move, it will catch them if they get up. And also heat smash as well. I'll probably make a separate Oki guide that's more advanced, because I feel like if I spend too much time on Oki, I think I'll be here for a long time. And me personally, I'll be totally honest guys, I don't use too many Oki setups or Oki in general. I like to just play neutrals, small Tekken, and just learn from there, you know. But with heat smash, I should definitely go over this. If they try and move, you do get QCF2. You can also get down 3 as well, but it must be delayed, you know. So the normal heat smash option without holding forward, you do get QCF2 if they stay QCF2 if they move, and down 3 if they stay grounded. If down 3 also catches delay tech, I'm sure as well. But again, it's good to know these options to kind of build that mind game and use these different options depending on how your opponent likes to wake up and whether they like to stay on the ground and so on. I feel like I've covered everything with the tips and tricks. I think one more thing I wanted to go over as well with Heihachi. As a wall combo, right, you can also use 1+2, down forward 1-1 into down back 3. If you don't want to go for a tornado, you can just use this. I think this is good as well because you do get decent Oki. Again, when you're at the wall against Heihachi is when I like to really use like back 2, down back 2. So when your opponent's in this situation, right, you can do stuff like full charged back 2 into making them guess, you know. Especially if you're in Warrior's Instinct, you can go for that juicy Raijin 2, which guard breaks, or Raijin 1. Or you can just continue your offense with hell sweeps, you know. So yeah, I think it's really important to know some of these situations just so you can experiment with them and lab them a bit more. But yeah, that is the tips and tricks segment of this guide. Now let's talk about game plans and styles in which you can play Heihachi. The first game plan and style I want to go over is playing defensive. Now you can literally bait your opponent by just moving, by trusting your defense and trying to block punish and whiff punish your opponent. And I think that is an effective way to play Heihachi, but again, it's not going to work against everyone. It's not going to work against turtles. Turtles are people that play super defensive, and it's harder to open those type of playstyles up with a character like Heihachi. So it's why I don't really suggest for you to play that way. But this first game plan or style is playing defensive and utilizing Heihachi's, you know, keep out with electrics, you know, back 4, 4-3, and so on, you know. Of course, Heihachi's block punishment is insane, so eventually your opponent will press something and you can land those juicy block punishes, those keep out electrics, those back 4s, and so on. But again, not a style I recommend too much, only good against certain playstyles and characters. Now the second game plan, which is my favorite and the one I use the most, is a balance of offense and defense. Now how do you do that? It's by playing both defensive and offensive, whether that's with movement, whether that's on keep out with electrics and so on. Like for instance, when I'm wave dashing, I'm always mixing it up with back 4, with wall standing 4, with forward 1+2, with electrics, with of course as well hell sweep. And you want to mix up your options when you play a character like Heihachi. You want to, like I mentioned before, and I've mentioned this a million times, you want to use as many options as possible to really get your opponent to second guess themselves. And doing that with like movement, just baiting your opponent with movement, with wave dashing, with options like forward 1+2, with wave dash mix, hell sweeps, you know, the hell sweep mix, which I also spoke about, really, really important. And of course, I did mention as well in the Warrior's Instinct section and the Heat section as well, it's really, really important for you to always enter Heat. Now, I went over some of the tips and tricks on how you can enter Heat Burst in a safe way. But even when you get like a launcher, I try and, when I'm playing this certain game plan and style, which is a balance of offense and defense, is when I always, whenever I get a launcher, I always try and pop Heat, because I want to get those stacks. As you can see, I've earned a stack for popping a Heat Burst in a combo. And you want to build those stacks to get into Warrior's Instinct, which is the end goal for Heihachi. But yeah, when I'm playing this game plan and style, it's always super aggressive, and then also being defensive. It depends on things like, does my opponent have heat? Am I in life lead? Where am I situated on the stage? Like, all these things you need to think about and consider when using this certain game plan, or using any game plan or style with any character, you know. It's always something to be conscious about. And of course, with this game plan and style, you want to learn to play both aggressive, but not be too aggressive. Like, you want to be able to play at different ranges. Like, when you're in life lead, you can kind of sit back, but you don't want to be too passive, you know. You want to still be in your opponent's face, but sometimes not do anything. Sometimes you want to do down forward 1 on its own, sometimes you want to enforce the down forward 1 mind game, and so on. You know, you still want to utilize moves like Hunting Hook to chip your opponent down, to show them you're not playing too passive. Of course, you still want to take risks sometimes with electrics and so on. Again, really important, you don't want to play too passive in a game like Tekken 8. It's why I don't recommend playing the defensive style in a game like Tekken 8 with Heihachi, especially because with Heihachi, you want to take risks. And that's something I mentioned before. Be conscious on when you take risks. Think about the risk reward in every single situation. It's really going to help you. When I'm at the wall with Heihachi, back 2 is my best friend. You are +6. I did forget to mention this in the tips and tricks, which I'm very sorry for. +6, a lot of people do like to press here or try to move. You can't jab them into a free 1-1-2 if they do try and step. So using back 2 at the wall, really important. Using down back 2 as well. Again, your opponent will not disrespect you. I feel like they will just hold back and hold all that pressure, so you can give them, you can deal a lot of chip damage and a lot of plus frames for free, you know. But that is also really important. Again, that does come down to risk reward and thinking about whether you're in heat or not. When I'm in heat as well, this goes for every single game plan style I'm going to talk about. There is 3 game plans and styles which I have, and I will mention Warrior's Instinct in a separate part. So with game plans and styles for heat, I always try and utilize heat. Guys, I do need to say this, I'm just going to be straight up, I'm really bad at utilizing heat. I've always been bad, but I've started to be more conscious about it, and I feel like I'm improving slowly but surely. That's what's important, guys. Slow progress is better than no progress. So with heat, of course, whether I'm using it manually, whether I'm using a successful heat engager, I try to chip down my opponent with moves like up forward 4-1. I try to use moves like back 3-3-2 to catch my opponent. I also like to use as many lows as possible, because I know not a lot of people will duck against Heihachi when I have heat, because they are scared of his mid options. They're scared of like his heat smash, for instance, which is really, really strong, of course. So you want to utilize moves that deal chip damage and maybe take risks with lows. But again, you got to be calculated. You can't be too predictable. So you got to play Heihachi. Always play Heihachi utilizing different timing. You don't want to be predictable with your timing. If you're predictable with your timing, it's going to be easier for your opponent to predict what you're going to do, and then you're going to get punished hard for it. And when you're getting punished by Heihachi, by your opponent, when playing Heihachi, it's kind of hard to get them to stay off of you, you know. Like, his defensive options aren't the best, besides stuff like, you know, parries, heat burst, power crush, which is -13, 1+2, and so on, you know. So you always want to dictate the pace and the momentum, but again, you got to be calculated and you got to think about risk reward in every situation. I mentioned how I approach like offense, neutral. Again, even with sidestepping and like side walking, really, really important to utilize Heihachi's backdash. I think Heihachi's backdash is really good. It's why I mentioned trying to play at different ranges, and also like I think his side walking is average, or his sidestep is average, but again, something I like to utilize as much as possible when playing mishimas, because you don't always want to press with mishimas. Sometimes it's fine to have that period or that time where you're just being defensive, and it's why I recommend this playstyle, getting good at this playstyle and this game plan of having a balance of offense and defense, guys. Super, super important. Again, make sure you enter heat and get those 3 stacks and use your heat efficiently. I will make a separate video about how to use your heat efficiently down the line for sure, because I feel like it's something I'm getting better at, and it's something I want to help people with, because I feel like a lot of people do waste their heat like this, and sometimes I do that as well. Like, I'm not saying I don't do that, like I do that so often, and it's such a waste of heat. Heat is like a powered up state which a lot of the game revolves around, so you want to use it as effectively as possible. But yeah, back to like the game plan style, the second one. Again, using a lot of wave dash, back four, sometimes even using like down forward 1 on its own, even jabs, just to see what does your opponent like to do. Do they like to press? Do they like to move after 1-1? Some people don't even know it's -5, so you can kind of still take your turn. Same with moves like back 4, you can still take your turn with like down forward 1, with maybe up forward 1 after it, maybe heat burst, and so on. Again, it's all about testing to see what your opponent's going to do, testing to see how your opponent reacts in a situation, and then you gather that information and you react and adapt accordingly. Now, the final game plan or style I do want to talk about is full-on aggression. Now, this is basically not really holding back and always disrespecting your opponents, or doing stuff like, you know, hell sweep into forward 3, hell sweep into back 4. Sometimes just taking risks when you don't need to, even like doing like power crush after certain moves, electrics, you know, even using moves like forward 4-2, which I don't recommend, but sometimes it is good to use, especially when you're in Warrior's Instincts. But I like to use this very rarely though. I like to try and overwhelm my opponent with this aggressive playstyle, but this is only for people that have bad defense, where I'm full on aggressive against. So I like to be super aggressive. I don't really hold back much. The only time I don't even hold back, the only time I'm not pressing forward is when I'm sidestepping to sidestep a move that they're going to do, or heat burst. So in this game plan and style, it's full on aggression. Same goes for like the moves that I mentioned, you know, wave mix, hell sweeps, electrics, forward 1+2, and so on, you know. When they put me in crouch, sometimes I'm going to disrespect with wall standing 2. And just being super disrespectful in general. Like when they plus, sometimes I will just throw out 1 back 2, and if I get counted, I will confirm it into 1 back 2-2. Again, this playstyle I wouldn't recommend too much. I think when you're playing a character like Heihachi, it's important to rely on your defense more so than your offense, you know, because his block punishment's amazing, and so on. So those are the 3 game plans and styles I did want to talk about when playing Heihachi. Again, you can check the neutral section to kind of implement your own type of styles and moves, which you can implement into your game plan and your toolkit. Again, he has a ton of moves to use. It's all about trying to use them and utilize them in a situation which is going to help you the most, and using a move that's going to benefit you the most in that situation, if you get what I mean. But yeah, that is the game plans and styles part that I covered. Let's talk about Warrior's Instinct. How do I like to use Warrior's Instinct? Warrior's Instinct, I just go batshit crazy. I'll be honest with you guys. A lot of hell sweeps, of course. A lot of forward 3s. I like to mix up hell sweep and forward 3. Sometimes I do like to use running 1+2. I've started to use that more recently, and I feel like I've been getting a lot of success from it. Of course, from Raijin stats, like I mentioned, you can do hell sweep, you can do 1, you can do Raijin 2, and so on. Again, in Warrior's Instinct, I always want to be dictating the pace and the momentum, but I don't want to be too aggressive, guys. It's important to not get too carried away. What do I mean by getting too carried away? Sometimes throwing out 1+2 and getting punished for it. Sometimes throwing out, you know, random down for 2 1s and getting punished for it. I do want to still play disciplined. I still want to take my time. I still want to play composed. I want to be calculated in everything I do. Of course, sometimes it's fine to go a bit batshit crazy and do, you know, double hell sweep, maybe hell sweep into a wall standing 4. Sometimes it's fine to do 4-4-3 into 1+2, which is a classic. You see so many Heihachi players do this. But it's fine, you know, to sometimes do that. But I'm saying, guys, don't get too carried away. Be more calculated. Try to be... try to vary your timing so it's harder for the opponent to predict what you're going to do. Of course, still utilize some of the neutral moves I mentioned, you know, forward 1+2, forward 4 into stance electric. Again, really important, because this is also safe in Warrior's Instinct. I'll never understand why that's safe and -3, by the way. It's so crazy. So crazy. But yeah, really important to still use some of the main moves in Warrior Instinct. Back to normal, back to down forward 1-2, down forward 1-2 sparks, and so on. The goal in Warrior Instinct is, of course, to land this juicy Punisher, but of course you want to also be aggressive with hell sweep, forward 4, forward 3, and moves like that. Warrior's Instinct as well, you also want to be very active in your movement, because a lot of people will just press when you see them just wave dashing, so you can like wave dash cancel just to see how your opponent's going to react to that. Again, that really depends on the player you're up against and the playstyle you're playing against and the character as well. It's really important. But guys, don't be afraid sometimes to just go batshit crazy in Warriors Instinct. Life is about having fun, and sometimes YOLO methods do work in Tekken. So sometimes don't be afraid to try it, you know. But yeah, I like to really go into stance a lot when I'm in Warriors Instinct 2, you know, 1 back 2 into electric, 1 back 2 into sometimes delay 4, because I think there's no way my opponent ducks when I have Warriors Instinct, right? Because this is safe. So sometimes I like to use the high options, for instance, and get some damage from that, you know. So it's all about thinking about the situations that you want to put your opponent in. Think about risk reward, think about timing, think about spacing. Those are the things that are going to help you guys when you play a character like Heihachi. Constantly and always have those things in your consciousness, and it's going to help you so much when playing Heihachi. Risk reward, super important. I've repeated this so many times, and I'm sorry I sound like a broken record, but I feel like it's so important that I emphasize on these things because it's going to help you so much. It helped me so much when I started learning Tekken. It's even helping me to this day, you know, when to use certain moves, when not to use certain moves, and so on, you know. So yeah, that is how I like to use Warriors Instinct. Chip down your opponent, be aggressive, sometimes take risks with health sweep, forward for 3, 1+2. Sometimes even finishing 1-1-2. Really, really good, you know, because bro, it wall sprouts from miles away, man, and it's so good to have something like this, you know. Of course, when you're using combos when you're in Warriors Instinct, always utilize spike combos to get the extra damage, but I will be talking about that in the next segment, which is the last segment. Guys, so we finally reached the last segment, and it's the segment I'm very weak at, and it's combos, guys. So please go easy on me. My combos are very bad. I'm going to start off with normal hit combos first. So for electric, for instance, the staple that I go for without heat, I'm going to do all my combos without heat first, and I'll have a separate section for heat dash, Warrior Instinct. So normal hit combos, double electric. On an open stage, I like to go for side step 2, forward into Raijin 1. There are other enders you can use for like wall carry and whatnot, depending on the stage that you're playing on. You can even do like back 2 into QCF 2. You can even do something like upward 3-4. There's even 1-1-2 that you can use as wall carry, you know, which is pretty good. But yeah, I feel like the possibilities are endless with Heihachi's combo game. That's why I really like Heihachi's combo game. You can also do the 3 electric combo, which I don't use because I feel like it's better to go for something that's more safer. So 3 electrics, 4-3, down forward 1, 4-3, down 2, upward 3-4 into QCF 2. Let's try it. So you can go for something like that. Again, you can mix up the combo enders depending on, of course, the stage you're playing on and so on. You can even go for size of 2 here as well for that damage. But that's the electric side of things without heat. Let's go for Fusion 2. Now, this is my Fusion 2 combo as well. I just keep it simple again. Into 1 back 2-4. You can even go for something like this as well. Into like 1-1-2. I don't use that too often. I like to just go for this stuff. 4-3 into Fusion 2 again. Or like I just showed first time, 1 back 2-4 for that wall carry, you know. Next thing I want to show is the 4-4-3 combo. Again, it's more or less the same. Most of these combos are the same. The staples, that is. And then choose whatever ender you want, whether it's for wall carry, whether it's for damage, and so on, you know. Completely up to you. Let's move on to full crouch down for 2, more or less the same combo as well. I like to go for back 2 into QCF 2 because it's easy, it hits on most characters as well. I think that's something to note as well. You gotta hit the combos that are gonna guarantee you damage and are not too hard to execute. And of course, they need to work on every single character also. Same with 4-4-2, it's more or less the same as well. Electric into 4-3 sweep. Fusion 2 into back 2. QCF 2 into upward 3-4. You can also use this as a wall carry, by the way, which I forgot to mention. But it is a bit hard, I'm not gonna lie. Like doing Hell Sweep 3, but it only works from some launches. Let's move on to Hunting Hawk. So again, more or less the same combo, you know. You can even do the side step 2 ender from there, or you can just go for wall carry. Now the tip on how to land this combo is, as you see, when he kind of lifts his hand down, that's when I input my Hell Sweep. So if you can see from the command history, right? So I'm always immediately holding down and then I quickly input the CD motion. That makes it easier for me to land the Hell Sweep combo if you guys are struggling with that. If you want to go for a more safer and easier combo without the Hell Sweep, you can go for something like this if you want, you know. But I'd recommend learning the 4-3 into the Hell Sweep combo just for the damage and the wall carry, of course. A low parry combo, which I go for without heat, is more or less the same thing as most of these combos. It's just without the Hell Sweep, basically. And 1 back to 4. You can even go for 4-3 into Fusion 2 if you'd like, but I usually go for that, you know. Let's move on to Warrior Instinct, because that is also a normal hit combo as well. For that, I also like to just the basics, honestly, like the staples that work for me, you know. For something like this, and into Omen, of course. Sorry about my execution, guys, it's really bad. When I say it's really bad, guys, I am not joking. I am not doing this for the YouTube. I genuinely mean it. My execution is really bad. No. But you can go for the Omen, you can go for QCF2, 4-4-2, and so on. You know? Or you can even go for Stomp in this situation. But of course, I like to go for Omen when I can land it, that is. You know what, let's try one more time. Why not? There we go. But yeah, that is the normal hit combo side of things. Again, for wall carry, when it comes to the combos without heat, you can use down forward 1-2 even as a wall carry, up forward 3-4 like I mentioned, which is Hunting Hawk, down forward 1-1, 1-1-2, back to blue sparks or gold sparks into QCF2. You can even use forward 3 on its own as well. Back 1-4, also another good combo ender for wall carry, and so on. But let's move on to the counter hit combos. So counter hit combos, more or less the same thing, guys. It's nothing too fancy. You know me, I like to just go for the basic combos. For counter hits, let's start with back 4, you know. Probably one of the most important moves. In Heihachi's neutral. Again, I like to just keep it nice and short, you know. Nothing too fancy, again. It's just the usual back 2, and then you can do like whatever combo ender you'd like. So back 4, back 2, 4-3, Hell Sweep, 4-3 down, and then whichever combo ender you'd like to do. Back 3-2 as well, same thing more or less, nothing different. It's more or less the same combo I like to go for without heat, you know. Even with heat, it's more or less the same. I don't like to change my combos too much. Again, off of most launches, it's the same for me. I don't like to go for super optimals. I like to take my damage, take my wall carry, and that's all, you know. Same with Hell Sweep as well. Single Hell Sweep counter. It's the same shit, guys. For Hell Sweep 4, neutral 4, I like to go for 4-3 like immediately. And it's the same with like the other extensions as well. Like, I try not to overdo it because again, I like to just get that guaranteed damage on my side, you know. Like, I don't like to go for the super fancy stuff, because I feel like it's not worth it in my opinion, you know, especially if you drop the combos. So you do something like this, for instance, back 2 and then back 3, fusion 2 for wall carry. But yeah, I feel like most routes are the same. There's nothing too different when it comes to his combo game. Of course, you can go for the more optimal stuff, but guys, I just want to show you guys the staples that are going to work in game. Of course, nothing too fancy, just straight to the point, you know, gets the job done, and that's it. So when we talk about Heihachi's heat combos, I'm going to start off with the heat dash first. With heat dash, up for 2-1, electric. Again, nothing too fancy, I'll be honest with you. I just keep it short and sweet. And that's basically the combos I go for. When it comes to heat though, when you want to use your heat burst, it is more or less the same as well. Like, basically the same route into back 2, you dash in so it doesn't whiff. The heat burst doesn't whiff, and so on, you know. You can still do sidestep 2 from this as well. You can still go for hunting hawk as well. But yeah, I just keep it really simple with these combos. I don't know how many times I'm going to say this, guys, but electric 4-3, Hell Soup 4-3 down, fusion 2, back 2, dash, heat burst. And there you go. That's basically what I go for when it comes to the heat combos. Same goes for like whether I'm going for like a counter combo as well. It's more or less the same route I take. I do need to work on my combos, I'm not gonna lie. My combos could be better. But again, I think it's really important to focus on the fundamental aspects when you're playing mishimas, because that's what's gonna help you win. Combos aren't gonna help you win. They're gonna give you flashy points, you're gonna have a bit of aura, but is that gonna help you win in the end? I don't think it is. But yeah, same goes for this here as well. Hunting hook, staples. Everything is more or less the same, guys. You can also do back 2 there if you want, but again, nothing too difficult. All basic combos that I'm going for, staples that are very consistent on all characters, don't really whiff on many characters or any characters from my knowledge. But yeah, let's move on to warrior instinct combos, I think. So when it comes to warrior instinct combos without heat, I always try my best to implement the spike for that unscaled damage, whether that's off of down for 2-1, whether it's off of electric as well without heat. 4-3. The first jab should whiff. That's the way I do it, and I just get that guaranteed unscaled damage. And the same goes for 4-4-3 as well. Again, guys, I'm not doing anything too optimal. As long as it gets me damage, deletes their grey health, and I'll get my juicy ass unscaled damage. That's what I care about, you know. Same with Hell Sweep as well. Single Hell Sweep, the same shit. It's all about trying to implement the spike combo in every situation possible when it comes to warrior instinct combos. Now, there is another ender you can go for when using heat, but I feel like it is a bit hard. I'm going to try and do it here. So back 2 heat burst, and then you go for running 1+2. I wonder how many tries it's going to take me. It's so hard to do though, honestly. But I'm going to try and do it, because why not, you know? It is so hard, guys. It's actually so hard. I don't see anyone go for this as well, you know. This is the one. Look at the juicy damage. 109 damage. But yeah, I do try and go for the running 1+2 spike a lot as a combo ender. If I'm not feeling too confident in Warrior's Instinct, I don't activate heat. I just manually go into here and then I just do the usual back 2 and so on. Outside of Warrior's Instinct, when it comes to like the heat dash combos, it's more or less the same stuff, you know. It's just double electric and then, you know, back 2 dash for the heat burst and then QCF2 into whichever ender you prefer. You can even do like upward 2-1 dash combos. Do I do that often? Not really, unless I'm trying to get like wall carry. But again, it really depends on the situation, you know. And then you can do an omen there if I'm trying to get closer to the wall. But yeah, I think those are the main combos that I like to go for. Again, guys, these are not optimal combos. These are just consistent combos and staples that I like to use because they're not too difficult for me. Of course, you could probably find better combos on the internet. Maybe in the future I will make like a more optimal and more advanced combo video for Heihachi, because these combos are fun to do and I feel like there's so much different routes you can take with Heihachi. Like you could do 4-3 into the wall standing 4 combos, which have crazy wall carry and so on. But let's move on to wall combos. So for wall combos, guys, I keep it simple. If I'm going for the usual wall combo without heat, it's usually back on 4 tornado into the down 4 3 string. If I'm gonna pop heat, it's more or less the same as well. Like I'll go for the down 4 3 because it's the most consistent. Sometimes I do like to go for the back 3 3 too, but it's very rare I go for that, to be honest. Like, I prefer to go for something that's more consistent, that works off axis, because Tekken 8 walls are really weird. But if I do go for like a single hit tornado, you can do down forward 1-1 into 1+2. You can even do down forward 1-1 into down back 3. You can even do stuff like jab down forward 1+2. And the high splat combo, which I think you should definitely learn though, is you backdash. Pop key and then you go for whichever wall combo you want. I think that's worth learning. It's not that hard to do. You just gotta make sure you backdash enough. And you can kind of tell with the way the body like slides down, you know, that you've got it right. Like in that situation, it won't work. But in this situation, it'll definitely work, you know. You can see like where the body is situated on the wall. But yeah, those are the wall combos I like to go for. Of course, if I'm in Warrior's Instinct, like if I'm gonna go for it, it's gonna be something like this. You can even do this just for the lulz, you know. And again, you can do the same high wall splat combo here as well. And you can even go for the spike. You can't go for the spike there, sorry. But you can just go for the usual high splat combo as well. And you get a ton of damage. But that's it, I think, for the combo side of things. Guys, please teach me new combos or maybe suggest me some videos to watch, because I do need to work on my combo game. That is for sure. That is all from me, guys. I'm really glad I got this video out, I swear. I can't tell you how much this means to me. This has been one of my goals, not just as like a competitor, but like a Tekken player. Like to kind of give my knowledge and experience with Heihachi. You know, it's my first time doing like a full in-depth guide. I really hope it's helped you guys. It's always something I wanted to do, and I'm glad I got this off my shoulders, because it was a lot of work and trying to like cover everything to the best of my ability, of course. It was a lot, and I really hope you guys do appreciate this. Of course, guys, remember to like, comment, subscribe. You can see all my socials down here. Basically, look, here's my Twitch. I stream there every day. Here's my YouTube. I also stream there. Of course, follow me on TikTok and Twitter. Man, this is cool. I've never done this before. And also my Instagram. Yeah, guys, remember to let me know if you guys have any questions. I do also offer coaching as well, guys. So if you want more one-to-one, in-depth things you want me to go over, or anything you guys want to know, anything you're struggling with, just drop me a message. We can sort out some coaching. My coaching is mainly done via Metafy, but you can message me on Discord and we can arrange something there. Also remember to join my Discord. My Discord's a super chill place where we don't just talk about Tekken. You can also meet players where you can play with them, whether you're from the European region, America region, Middle East region, whatever. Like, we have a lot of players in my Discord that just play. We have a matchmaking channel where you can find players to play with. But we don't just talk about Tekken, guys. Like I just mentioned, we talk about animes, movie shows, other games, football, sports, everything, guys. So remember to join the Discord as well if you want to keep in touch. Of course, you can also find out when I'm going to stream, when I'm going to upload new videos, anything I do have planned. I do speak with my community. I like engaging with my community, you know. I think it's really important as a streamer and a content creator, of course. But yeah, guys, let me know what you guys thought about this video. A big relief that I finally got this all done. Let me know what you guys would like to see next. Maybe it's time to, I don't know, play other characters or something. I think it might just be time to maybe do a Kazuya guide or play Kazuya or something. But yeah, guys, I really hope you guys enjoyed this. Again, thank you so much for all the support. Honestly, the support has been crazy recently on the Twitch streams, the YouTube streams, whether it's YouTube content, TikTok, everything. It really does mean a lot, guys. And genuinely, it doesn't go unnoticed. I do want to do more guides, and I do want to create videos like this where I'm literally trying to share everything that I've learned and everything that I know as like a competitor from like a pros perspective, because I feel like there's not too many content creators that can make content based on the level that I've competed at, you know. So I definitely want to do that and try and share that with you guys, because I definitely think it would benefit a lot of people. But yeah, guys, remember, hit me up on my socials and let me know what you guys would like to see next. I'm open to doing, I'm not going to say anything again, but I'm open to doing a lot of things for you guys. But yeah, guys, take it easy, God bless, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.